any team that I've been successful with as a player or as a coach, it's just having 11 people pulling in the same direction. Um, I feel like at a level, it becomes much less tactical. It's more getting egos pulling in the right way. So, again, that sense of belonging thing. If you've got guys believing that they're part of something and the communication's there, you're going to get those guys wanting to put that jersey on and doing as well as you can.
Ever wondered what it takes to lead a team that thrives, not just performs? Today's guest, Marty Kain, has done it across 3 countries, playing and coaching professional cricket in New Zealand, England, and now the USA. Known for his infectious energy, team-first mindset, and ability to get the best out of people, Marty shares the lessons he's learned about leadership, communication, and building trust fast. In this episode, we dive into the power of belonging and community in sport and life, how to navigate tough times without losing momentum, and the strategies to avoid burnout while keeping yourself and your team firing. We also explore the wisdom Marty's gained from mentors and coaches that has shaped the way he inspires those around him. If you're a growth-driven man who loves your sport and wants practical insights to lead better, connect deeper, and build resilience both on and off the field, this conversation is packed with lessons you won't want to miss. I'm Ian Hawkins, and this is Sport is Life. The purpose of sport, as I see it, is to see your vision become a reality. Find your voice, create strong connections, and learn to trust your body. Hey Marty, how you going?
Yeah, good, mate. How are you?
Really good. I notice you've got one of your cricket team's shirts on. What have you got there?
Oh, yeah, this is the mighty Washington Freedom, one of the 6 major league franchises. They actually operated through New South Wales Cricket, actually, and owned by a guy in Washington. So, a decent Australian presence. Steve Smith, Maxwell, Travis Head have all had the Freedom jersey on in the last few seasons. So it's a good organisation, very good people, and very good culture in that team.
Yeah, wow. And you've got to like work up close and personal with those guys?
Yeah, so I've done a little bit more in the pre-tournament stuff. So they have Ponting as coach. He was a bit delayed with the IPL this season, so I came in and threw a few balls, hit a few catches for the lads as they prepared for the tournament. So hopefully, moving forward, can continue that relationship with that team and yeah, get more and more involved. It's a great franchise and some awesome players playing there. So
Yeah. Maybe a trip to the IPL some point in the future would be handy too.
yeah, that'd be nice. That certainly wouldn't be easy to get into, but no, I'd love to do that at some point in life. That'd be an awesome one to tick off.
Well, you never know. You get the connections you have and you've built over time. You never know where it'll lead. So how popular is the this T20 comp in the US?
Yeah, it's pretty popular. There's certainly a big appetite for cricket in the US, especially with the Indians and Pakistan and Asian community moving here often for work and stuff like that. There's just a big population and obviously they love their cricket. So
Yeah.
it's been here a long time. It's just finally getting tapped into like from more of a professional level. Still lots of things to work through in that, but certainly like the TV audience and some good crowds and they had the World Cup here last year, and the US did really well. So that certainly generated some more interest. And I don't think it's going to be long until they become a pretty strong nation in international cricket with what's going on here. There's a lot of good cricketers here now, and obviously having the major league cricket is certainly helping that. So I
Mm.
think the future's bright here as long as organizationally things that probably need to be a little bit better, but I won't dive too deep into that. That's
Yeah,
a bit
yeah.
controversial.
Well, I can imagine it's not a traditional cricket nation, shall we say? So that doesn't surprise me in the slightest. We've seen you mentioned the subcontinental influence. That doesn't surprise me. That's kind of something that's been a big part of New Zealand cricket. You've had some well-known players over those years. I imagine that's going to grow as the demographic changes, and that's definitely the case in Australia. There was the video of a young fella who came from the Australian under-19s who's from Indian heritage, and he was just he got 300 in
Oh, I
160
saw that.
balls. Oh yeah, and it's like, because I was only wondering, like we've had such an increase in that subcontinental influence in Australia. So wondering how long it's going to be before it breaks through into the national teams, and
Yeah,
like it's exciting. Like how there's part of me that's like, how else are we going to compete with this cricket mad area where they just all play, whereas
yeah,
it's probably the challenge is getting participation numbers up
yeah.
in New Zealand and Australia, but they definitely have an impact. So it's no surprise to hear it's a big part of that US Premier League. Are you finding that the sort of more the long term white America or other parts of the different melting pot that is the US getting involved in cricket?
I hope so, but I don't see that yet. So it'll take a real clear directive from the top to really influence that and put some structures into place which can get into schools and stuff like that. I know certain individuals have certainly given it a crack, but I think it would need to be a collective effort to really get it into there. So I don't know. I think the subcontinent population is like so big here they can get away with not. But in a perfect world, it would be awesome to see some of the Americans really get a hold of this game and start enjoying it.
Yeah, I think the closest I've seen is a guy on YouTube that does like videos on different bats, and he's done one with the cricket bat that did quite well for him, I think, and he's comparing the two. He quite liked the he quite liked the sound of the cricket bat, but some of those new ones are incredible. Okay, so you are New Zealand born, yeah?
Yeah.
So how do you end up in the US coaching cricket of all places?
Yeah. So when I was in the UK playing cricket, actually, I met my wife, who was studying over there at the time, and she's from America and American, and so eventually we got married. We lived in New Zealand for a bit until I retired, playing in New Zealand, and then we moved out here, and she was doing a master's here in San Diego, and honestly, I didn't plan to be around cricket at all. I thought New World here was actually an extremely tough transition. Going from cricket to going to America where I didn't know anyone, didn't have a job, didn't
Mm.
my studies didn't transfer over, so I was basically just this very small man in a big country, and I started some odd jobs here or there, and just to feel some sort of place of belonging. I wanted to do a bit of coaching sort of thing, so
Yeah.
tracked down a few people, and from there it just grew and then expanded into different things, and now it's just cricket mania. Basically, I'm doing more cricket than I've ever done in my life. So it's been a cool journey. It certainly was the first year was a real challenge, having gone from playing cricket and being around friends and family and to a new country where anything I'd done meant nothing, and it was sink or swing and swim, and wife was studying, so yeah, it was cricket was I had to go back to cricket to find some sort of sense of belonging and a tiny bit of pocket money at the time, and it just grew from there.
There are worse things to be doing than, even if it was a struggle in those early days, the worst thing to be doing than earning money from cricket. Yeah, I'm sure everyone could agree with that. How it must have you must have learned a lot about yourself in that time when you're going through, like you've had success there on the cricket field, and then you're going into a place that's completely foreign, not just as a foreign country, but just foreign in terms of the whole scenario. yeah, what are some of those learning? Like maybe you learned that you were stronger than you thought. What else sort of things did you sort of learn about yourself through that challenging time?
Yeah, I think sometimes having less is more. Just didn't have money to think about what we could do with it. So it's sort of just live with what you've got and enjoy each other's companies and enjoy the small things. And I think family and friends are always what's most important, whether you have money or don't have money, or whether you feel big or small about your job or whatever. And um, yeah, I think from there, just finding a place of belonging is really important. And even I took a few odd jobs at the start, which were really just not good places to be and didn't work out. And then I found a really good job within a property management company, and that was sort of my place of belonging. And it was just good to meet some people and be around some people that you cared for a few years. And I think that's when I started feeling more at home here. It took some time, but yeah, just finding a community I think is extremely important, because you take that for granted sometimes. And when you pick up and leave cricket and you pick up and leave your country, it's a very lonely feeling at times. So yeah,
Yeah.
just leaning on community and your family and friends in those periods is, I think, is really important.
Oh, absolutely. I can't even imagine. And it's not like you can just dive into a sporting community that you used to, because all the sports are different as well. Was there an element of culture shock about the move?
A huge culture shock. So obviously spent a lot of time in the UK and Australia, and but the US is just completely different. And at the start, you sort of you fight it because you're used to what you're used to, and you think everything should be done the way you're used to it being done. And so I was fighting it, and yeah, just things weren't sort of going my way, and all those things. And it's not as cushy, I would say, in the US. Like, it's a bit more sink or swim. So if you work hard and stuff, you really do get rewarded. But if you at the start, it's going to be a grind. No one's going to just look after you, whereas in New Zealand, you probably know someone, or even if you didn't have a job, you get taken care of by the government and stuff like that. So that culture is a little different. Or health insurance is so confusing that it's scary to even go to a doctor. So making all
Right.
those small adjustments are really challenging. Things that are normally free might cost $1,000 now, and you're like, oh my god, how do you process all those things? So it
Mm.
really was. It's very different to New Zealand, Australia, and the UK. So now I've been here a long time, and very grateful that everything that the US has given me. And I think it's a great country. Obviously, love New Zealand as well, and there's pros and cons to both the way things are done. But it's certainly a country, if you put in work, and you will get rewarded. But it can be very lonely and humbling, being such a small person in a big world out here.
Yeah, I bet. We'll come back to that sense of belonging in community, because that's a really important thing when we talk about sport. I'd love to hear more about that experience in America, though, because I'm sure people who have lived the southern hemisphere their whole lives, or even in the UK, would be fascinated to sort of hear those differences. What's something that you love about the US that we don't sort of have in those other three countries?
Really, a little bit more common sense around laws. Um, and I know that it gets overused, but freedom. I think you can get away with things that really aren't crimes, and common sense will sort of prevail. But if you do something stupid, you'll be in trouble.
Mm.
Um, I was trying to think of an example. Okay, so like running an orange light or something. I don't know if this is good advice, but they're not going to bother about that. Like, they've got
Mm.
better things to do. Whereas in New Zealand, if you run an orange light or something, you might get pulled over and someone will make a big deal out of it. Or if you're going 5 kilometers an hour over the speed limit, you might get pulled over in New Zealand. Here, you got to be doing something a bit stupider to get pulled over. Or I'm not sure
Some
if that's a good
leeway.
example, but
Yeah. No, I get what I get what you're saying. It's yeah, I think it's like you give people a bit more rope and not so direct with those the policing of things. I guess.
yeah, I'll actually give you probably a better example that I've really enjoyed, especially in New Zealand. I don't know if it would apply to Australia as much, but I feel here you can express yourself a lot more and be unique or dress what you want, talk what you want, and you're not constantly being judged. Um, I feel in New Zealand that you really want to try be normal, whatever normal is, and
Yeah.
not stand out. So it's really refreshing here that you can wear whatever you want, do whatever you want, and people aren't going to be looking. They don't care. They're minding their own business, sort of thing. Whereas I
Yeah.
feel like in New Zealand, if I walk the streets with something like the wrong color shirt on or something, like people going or he's noisy, or if you like say something in the crowd or something like that, it'll be like really obvious. So here,
Mm.
I think people are a lot less judgmental, and it's people are just minding their own business a little bit more.
Yeah, it's not the first time I've heard that, and that would be the same for Australia too. It is normal, whatever that means, but it's almost like you don't want to stand out too much. Whereas it seems to be the US are more than happy for people to celebrate their uniqueness and yeah have their 5 minutes of fame or whatever it is.
Yeah,
Like yeah, I think it's a bit of that tall poppy that happens in
definitely.
down our part of the world. Probably UK to a certain degree as well, which
Yeah,
not sure is a fantastic thing. I
yeah,
definitely like that idea of allowing people to be have more of that uniqueness. But I think you look at the history of countries. I mean, I don't know about the UK, but for Australia and New Zealand, we're relatively young. Maybe that will come over time.
yeah.
Um, Certainly hope so. Anyway, so if we come back to that sense of belonging, and again, you've played in team environments, you've played in cricket. Like there's a uniqueness about a cricket team, and not just the support, but the the ribbing and the all of those things that come with a team environment. It's such a powerful way of getting that sense of belonging. So when you were going through that and you weren't sort of feeling that community, were you thinking I need to immerse myself in something, or you were kind of more in survival mode initially?
Yeah, it's probably a bit of both, but certainly made a lot of effort. So there's a few there's local guys that would meet up on a Sunday and play like some touch rugby. Because my wife was doing a masters at San Diego State, we joined like a rec basketball league. So I think we definitely were aware that that was something that was very going to be really important. Um, it still took time as well, and I think also when you're a bit limited financially, that sort of limits what you can do as well. It might be a lot of social events, and at that time it just wasn't a good financial time for us, so we were a bit limited with what we could do, and sometimes that's a bit limiting from a social perspective. But yeah, we definitely made an effort. I think work for me was good because you're there every day, you're turning up, you're seeing the same people, you're building those relationships. And then the coaching started getting more and more and more. So I was getting the really good interactions there, and pretty much everyone I coach now is like family, friends to me. So that community's been amazing, and I care for them a lot, and I know they care equally back. So that's been really good for us. But yeah, it certainly took some time. I think the first year was really tricky. Definitely made some tough calls back home to people, being like, oh, okay, this is going on. And there'd
Yeah.
be a few days I'd walk in the door and just straight to bed, and the wife was like, he's miserable. It was a little easier for her, but still not easy because she was away from family. But America was her home, so she was familiar with the culture and those things. So I was dealing with the culture shock and not knowing anyone as well. So, but definitely, I think that that year has built a lot of resilience and gratefulness of the journey that it's given me. And sometimes I have to remind myself to look back, because sometimes I'll be complaining that I'm coaching too much and stuff like that, and I know I shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah, yeah. But I get it, right? Because once you move to the next thing, you kind of then do you want to keep improving it as well.
It's a
But yeah, there's not.
nightmare.
Yeah, but there's nothing like going through those tough times to, like you said, build resilience. It really strengthens you for what's to come. But it also, as you said, that appreciation and gratitude for going on that journey of what it's given you. So what do you think you mentioned resilience, like what else did that time give you that's really strengthened your resolve for what you're doing now and what you're planning on doing in the future?
Um, yeah, I guess one thing it does is I know if everything's taken away, it's okay. It's all right. Like, there was still an awesome year of our lives. Like, we're playing, I don't know, playing board games at home, and making dinners at home, and less thinking. Don't have to think where I'm going to put, which retirement account I'm going to put my money in, and what car I'm going to buy. Don't have to make those choices. So, like, it's a reminder sometimes less is more. And you're present, and you're really enjoying that time with your spouse, or whatever it might be, your cat, or and anytime you went out for a meal, or anytime you did get to travel, you were so happy about it. So I think
Yeah,
that would probably be the biggest thing, is that if someone stripped us of all our assets, and whatever we have, then it's okay. Like, we can get through it.
yeah. Wow, that's powerful. Because think of us, we live in these societies. That sort of drives consumerism and materialistic principles. Yeah, that's a really powerful lesson. I noticed in your bio, you talk. There's three sort of things there that you're talking about. Your loving personality, which I think has already shone through in how you've described all these different scenarios. The team focused approach and getting the best out of people, and that the word that sort of came to my head as I was reading that was leadership, and that's so important. No matter what sort of coach you are in, what sort of area, do you see yourself as a leader, and if so, how does that show up for you? Like, what are the ways that you like to lead in these sporting scenarios?
Yeah, I definitely, someone that cares a lot for people. So, um, always trying to better other people. Which, to be honest, sometimes I'll burn out, because I'm so focused on others that I don't take care of myself. So sometimes I've got to remind myself for that. Um, but yeah, definitely for me, the biggest thing around leadership is conversations. Um, so as I've learned and coached more, I've realized how important those individual conversations are. So people know where they're at, and they know that they're part of something, because often in a team environment, you've got some people being communicated with, and some are being skipped. Now, it doesn't mean the coach doesn't like them or anything like that. But what I know is, as a player, if that communication's not there, these players often go missing, or don't feel like they're part of something. And all of a sudden, instead of having 11 guys pulling in one direction, you've got 5 or 6 pulling in one direction, and others pulling in their own direction, because they've sort of manifested a story in their mind that perhaps the coach doesn't like, or leadership doesn't like. So from my learnings, it's having those one-to-one discussions a lot, and making sure each member knows that they're part of this team, and what their role is, and what they mean to the team. And that's whether they're doing good, poorly, okay, just making those discussions are there. So they have a voice as well. Because any team that I've been successful with, as a player or as a coach, it's just having 11 people pulling in the same direction. Um, I feel like at a level, it becomes much less tactical. It's more getting egos pulling in the right way. So again, that sense of belonging thing. If you've got guys believing that they're part of something and the communication's there, you're going to get those guys wanting to put that jersey on and doing as well as you can. And if you can get that done, then you sure as hell have a better chance of winning than and guys just doing their own thing. So I think that's the main thing for me is just a load of communication and clarity around what their role is and what they're going to be doing for the team and what is the what is the direction the team's looking for? What are we trying to achieve? And making sure we're clear with that so we don't lose sight of that.
Yeah, I love that. That's a great answer. That clarity is so important, and then it comes back to what you talked about before, right? That sense of belonging. It's yeah, whether it's in your personal life or in sporting environment, just feeling like you belong changes everything. So it's interesting here that still sometimes can get missed. Those individual conversations. Is that a reflection of um, the different styles of coaches that there are out there? You think?
I think so. I think, and it's not always easy to have these chats because sometimes they're going to be a little uncomfortable. Um,
Mm.
so someone might just steer around it and think that's going to be okay. And then I think some others, I just think, well, actually, a good chunk of human beings struggle with communication. So
Yeah.
they just avoid it and unfortunately in a team environment that doesn't normally end well because people will make up a story in their mind. And I've been there as a player, like where we've had a couple of maybe poor performances and you haven't had any conversation with leadership and all of a sudden you start making up your own stories. So at that point, if you could just have a conversation, and it doesn't need to be a pat on the back, but coach come in and say, look, Marty, clearly you're having a tough time at the moment. Look, you're going to be sitting out the next one. We believe in you. You're a great player. Just get the work done, and once you get back in form, you'll be back in there. So something like that. So there's that clarity, and there's no stories being made up, and people starting their own stories essentially.
Mm. Certainty and support. That's what it sounds like. And I think,
Yeah,
again, if we come back to leadership, it's sometimes we overcomplicate these things, but having those things in place, yeah, spot on. Now, is there someone in the environments you work now that really is the model of that,
um,
apart from yourself?
I think honestly, like the freedom coaches, Michael Klinger, Sean Bradstreet, those guys all pretty good, pretty honest with the players and pretty clear. In New Zealand, um, yeah, I think all the coaches were pretty good with it, to be honest. It's probably a couple of times where the conversation wasn't quite there, and you'll hear the players start talking about it. Um, and also, I think players are not always looking for just positive feedback because then they stop trusting that. So I think that feedback has to be pretty direct and clear. Otherwise, you start getting like fluffy messages on, and then you lose that trust with the coach. So I've definitely heard players not enjoying it, all fluffy. Basically, oh, you're doing great. Maybe they're not, and they know that. So it's better to be clear with them and direct with them, so they can better their game and also know where they stand at the moment in that team environment.
Yeah, fantastic. And tell us a bit about not Sean Klinger, um,
Michael Klinger.
Michael Klinger, because I've heard reports about like what a great batting coach he is, but he obviously has a way of communicating that must sort of separate him, that he's been singled out like that.
Yeah, I think he's a general manager of Washington Freedom. So he coaching and running things behind the doors as well. A very busy man, but he's
Yeah.
also working in the 100 and the IPL, and then also with New South Wales cricket. So I
Mm.
think he's just a really calm, good person, which I think people have a lot of time for. he's super calm guy, good communicator, um, clear with people, and yeah, I think his biggest strength is just his personality and his composure and calmness. I think people like to be around that. He barely changes his emotions, high or low. He's just a very stable guy, and it's probably why he's such a good batter as well. Is keeps his emotions in check. So a very good guy for the players and coaches to be around.
And probably a little unlucky about the era that he played in, limited opportunities at the international level because he was churning out plenty of runs for Victoria. Sean Bradstreet, I used to work with him when I was at uni, way back when. He is a champion fella, so I'm sure he's great at delivering those messages, particularly to the younger cricketers.
No, he was awesome, and he was really awesome with me. Um, just real honest and a hard nosed guy. And um, at one point I screwed up, and he said, "Look, mate, you screwed up there. You're a good man. I really love being around you, but just don't do that again. That's not a good idea." And I was, it was so good. I knew it was coming, and I knew I screwed up, and just for him to have that honest, like I was saying, like the feedback was so honest. He was like, I I like you. I want to help you, so I'm just going to tell you this. That was not a good idea. So I was really grateful for that, and the energy he brings is just fantastic. He was super cool to be around, and he had that hard nosed but fair approach, which I think people really appreciate.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, is he at New South Wales as well? He was at the
Yeah,
Thunder at one
yeah,
point. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. It's okay. Good to see there's good people in charge there. Um, now, one of the things that you do is like preparing teams, and a lot of the things that we've already talked about, bringing them closer together, get more of that cohesion. If when you're about to head into a tournament or an event, like where do you start with the team? Like how do you get that cohesion happening from sort of step one?
Yeah, I think first it's got to be just some pretty casual environment, some dinners or some golf or just social events where it's easy paced and just naturally letting that relate those relationships build and people enjoying that and easing into it and perhaps starting to share the vision and where we're looking to go and um, just getting that collective buy-in, making sure we're all on the same page for where we want to move for that season or that period of time. So I think those social events around food and drinks and golf and things like that are very important. And I'll tell you, there's a lot of golf that gets played with the Washington Freedom.
I
So
bet with Ricky there.
Ricky there, Maxi there, those guys certainly played their fair share of golf.
Yeah, I bet.
So I think that's certainly important. But at the same time, that's half the team as such. So you want to just make sure that you're including everyone for some dinners and stuff like that as well, because it wouldn't be right for those social events only to be for half the people, because not everyone wants to go and play golf. So I think those social events are really important, and then it's I think around trainings and stuff is where you start to sweat together and you start to get excited together, and I think just the build up, depending on the time frames you have. Obviously, you don't want to overdo it and then peak at the before the season even started. So it's just important to make sure you build into it at the right tempo as well, because certainly I've been in an environment before where we've gone too hard too early, and then halfway through the tournament we're cooked, mentally
Yeah.
gone and stuff. So I think that the benefit of these really good coaches is that they really know when to push the tempo and when to pull back. If they've had a hard week, then perhaps skip a few days of training and perhaps go and get some dinner together, or perhaps we've been around each other too much. Let's not see each other for a few days. So I think yeah, these really top coaches know how to prepare that at the right tempo and get everyone aligned for that vision of what we're looking to do.
Yeah, love that. Um, Yeah, getting people aligned for the vision, so important. So, is there someone that's really stood out to you in terms of their ability to do that, to actually get everyone on the same page and then get it continuing to happen all through the season?
Yeah, I think a really good coach from New Zealand would be Gary McDonald. He's a coach I had a lot while I was there. Um, he's just sort of an old school coach, but a very fair coach. He just kept you on your toes. He had your back, but he was ready to pounce on you if you're ready to slip up, or if he sort of he read your attitude really well. So if he knew you were sort of drifting a little bit or getting a bit cocky or something like that, he would nip it in the butt real quickly. So I think he was very clever at reading people and understanding what what their mindset was, or perhaps if the team was drifting or something like that, he would really quickly hammer it. Or let's say we were winning and winning comfortably, um, but carrying on a bit poorly or something like that, he would actually yell at us after a win every now and then, and we'd be like,
Yeah.
"Whoa!" we're all celebrating, and he just knew how to not let us get too high, or so he would chop us down, and no matter who we were playing, we were the underdogs. He made us every game. He made it sound like we were the worst team that was going to be out there. He just knew that he knew how he operated, and he knew that he wanted us to go out there and just fight. So he didn't want us thinking we were the hot favorites or anything like that. So I thought he was very clever in the sense of when to put his foot down and when not to.
And do you find that you played your best cricket under him too?
Yeah, I did. Yep,
Yeah.
yep, I think so. He just because I knew I had to turn up every week. I knew he read me like a book. So if I took my foot off, he was going to bounce on me. So
Yeah.
I really do feel he got the best out of people, especially people that were determined and okay with him getting all over them every now and then. Um, just yeah, no, I think he definitely was brought the best out of me because I knew I had to get up for everything.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was at first class level in New Zealand.
Actually, it wasn't. He did coach first class cricket, but he coached
Yeah.
me when I was younger. So it was club level actually. But then he mentored me as I was playing first class cricket as well. Um, so yeah, he was a guy that I was always in touch with, and basically from 15 to when I retired, he was my go-to, and he was only ever a call away, and he's a good friend now. So
Yeah. It's good.
I tell a lot of stories about him, and every now and then I get a bit mad at whoever I'm coaching, and they'll say, "Oh, there's the Gary Mack coming out in you," but I say that's nothing compared to Gary Mack.
Yeah, wow. It's so important in our lives, not just for sport, right? People like that have that ability to not necessarily it being softer side, but knowing the right rein to pull at the right time and how to. It sounds like he's a really good people connector as well.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely, and yeah, I think there's still a time and place where you've got to be get told off every now and then, right? It's I know we're sort of in a more positive and back each other and stuff, but I think from if attitudes go missing somewhere, I think you've got to sit down and put people back in their place every now and then. Otherwise, that attitude can really fall away. I
Yeah,
don't think you want to get too upset around execution or skills because
no,
those things come and go. But I think attitude is something within our control. So if that's missing from a individual or team standpoint, I think that's something that coaches should crack down on.
yeah, absolutely. The things that are in our control, and it's interesting to hear you say that even at that level, that's still the case because yeah, we can lose sight of what's most important. But it sounds like getting well. What I believe is that when you've got a vision that you're all moving towards, and you've got your role, that clarity that you talked about before, that you need to execute, not necessarily the skill execution, but the, as you said, attitude and behaviours and values and all those pieces. If that's not happening, yeah, absolutely, the coach does need to be direct because we've agreed to this, and let's make it happen, right?
Yeah.
You've mentioned a few times about like that experience in New Zealand, and to me, there's, I mean, I don't know, maybe I'm reading this wrong. Certainly, I've only had one visit to New Zealand, and this is what I found is that the people seem to more naturally create that belonging and community and accepting, and yeah, it's always a bit of gentle ribbing about rugby because you guys are way better than us. But in terms of like that I kind of feel like, is that, do you feel like that is a New Zealand thing?
Yeah, I think so. I think culture's a big strength of sport in New Zealand. I think without it, we'd be nowhere because the it's mind-boggling how competitive we are at cricket. Um, I'm not saying our players are not as at the same level as like Australia and India and England, but the fact that they continually make World Cup finals and beat these teams is a bit ridiculous, to be honest.
Yeah,
Given the player pool and that,
yeah,
and I think that can only come down to environment and backing each other and yeah, again, probably the underdog tag helps a little bit because there's a little less pressure, but I think just them being out there playing for each other, we see that a lot, and it goes a long way in World Cups where there's a lot of pressure. So I think it's something we definitely do well. It didn't. I'd say probably 15 years ago there was still a bit of an old school mentality, and the oldies would sort of treat the younger players. Um, but not easily. So it'd be a bit tougher for them to find their feet, a bit of that old school stuff. But now I
yeah.
think it's very open and welcoming, and that's why youngsters can come in and perform from an earlier age because they've got the backing from the senior players, which I think is so important.
Yeah, from what I've heard of stories of change rooms in Australia, I'd say that those older generations would have been the same here, and like
Yeah,
frighteningly so. But I think back to when Phil Hughes is passing, like that was the New Zealand national team that led the way in well, you know, we can't finish this game, like we and then you know the tributes and so on. And they came from everywhere, but it, like my memory was that they kind of led the way in getting on the front foot and doing something. And I think about the All Blacks and what we know about their culture and the celebrated way that they behave, not just in preparation, but how they deal with people. And yeah, I mean, those stories are fairly well known. So yeah, that definitely supports it. Now, this is an Australian-based podcast, so we can't be too glowing for the Kiwis, but you're right. They absolutely punch above their weight in terms of, like you said, the player pool. Like, yes, you've got a small population, and Australia definitely punches above its weight, considering the population as well. But I don't think people fully appreciate how small the player pool is in New Zealand cricket, right?
yeah, no, it's tiny. There's six first class teams with 15 or so contracts, so you're looking at about
Mm.
100 players to pull from for the international team. So
Mm. And most of the stadiums are like what you'd see in a club cricket
yeah,
field here in Australia. And well, my brother lived in Wellington for a fair few years, and he told this story when Adam Gilchrist hit one out of the ground and it went down the street and it just kept going because there's literally just fence there. There's no grandstand or anything. Very good. So, just a little bit about your career. So, I think when we spoke previously, you said you probably you got just about everything out of your playing ability. Just for the listeners, what level did you hit? Like you said, you played in New Zealand and in the UK, so you played first class level, a fair bit of first class cricket.
yeah, yeah, that's right. Yeah, so I mostly played T20 and 50 over cricket, first
Mm.
class in New Zealand. So yeah, that's where I got to. Had some good campaigns there. Probably didn't really knock on the door for New Zealand. Would have loved to, but yeah, I think I probably got the most out of what I had. A good work ethic and that. Just couldn't quite make that step to New Zealand. Did make the backdoor international cricket playing for the US when I moved over here.
Oh, nice.
Didn't plan to do that.
Yeah.
I didn't plan to play, and I started playing a little bit, and then I started playing a little bit more, and then fortunately made it to the US team for a few tours, which was really cool. And no, I really enjoyed that. So, and then after that, that was sort of, I was happy to. I retired twice essentially. I retired when I left New Zealand. I retired after that US stint. So that was a really special thing to do as well.
Oh, I reckon it'd be amazing. Like what a journey. So when you say tours, like you're playing against the sort of second tier nations, I imagine.
Yeah, so I debuted against Ireland. They came over actually, which was cool. We beat them. Actually, we won the first game and lost the second one, and then there's a rain out or something like that. So that was
Mm.
decent. And then we had a tour to Zimbabwe. That was World Cup qualifiers, and we were one win away from going to the T20 World Cup in Australia. So that was a bit of a
Wow.
bummer. That would have been
Yeah.
an absolutely incredible experience.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we lost to we lost to Netherlands in that game that we needed to win. Otherwise, we would have gone to Australia and potentially played against like a New Zealand or something, which would have been an incredible
That
experience.
would have been ridiculous. The national anthem's playing and you're crying at the wrong one. um, the Dutch have got a pretty handy cricket team. Like when you're talking about that level, they go right. So don't, there's any shame in getting beaten by them, is there?
Yeah, no, they're pretty good. Yeah, I don't think probably the US is far from there now, though. The US is pretty good now. A lot of
Okay.
players moved here about 4 or 5 years ago and that have qualified as locals now. So I don't want to jinx it, but I would say they're probably at about a Netherlands Ireland level now.
Okay.
Like
Developing
at
quickly then.
the yeah, I mean they got into the final eight of the T20 World Cup in the US last year, where they beat Pakistan. So they're definitely not a bad side at all. They will, I don't, yeah, and they played Bangladesh in a series and won like 2-1 as well. So they're not bad.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's
Okay.
getting there for sure.
Mm. Amazing. And again, I see a world where the subcontinental players playing like for a lot of these teams, and as it should. Like it's like in Australian football, soccer, for example, like
Y-
the heavy European influence and an increasing South American influence. Like these are like football strongholds. Of course, they're going to have a higher representation. And why would cricket be any different? I
Yeah,
just think like if again personally Australian cricket, if we're not doing enough to really make environments where these guys thrive, well then we're missing an opportunity. So like I said, it's good coming back to old mate who got the 300 for West the other day in the Sydney grade comp. I think that's yeah, big steps in the right direction. Very cool. So what's something you've learned being a coach, helping others, that maybe you wouldn't have discovered if you'd gone on a different path?
probably that connection and influence you can have on their life. Um, yeah, sort of deeper than cricket is the amount of trust they'll throw at you, and then the questions that they'll come at you with that are like completely off topic from cricket.
Yeah.
So that relationship you build where their trust in you becomes so high that you're like, whoa, whoa, hang on, I don't know if that question's for me, sort of thing. Uh,
Yeah.
but I mean, that's humbling that you and their respect in that sense. And yeah, it's nice for them to have an ear to talk to that's not mum or dad or someone like that they can come to as a sort of neutral and say, hey, look, here's what's going on. What do you think? It's funny tonight. One of the kids I was coaching had earrings in. I said, I don't know about this, mate. I'm not sure about earrings. And he said, no, I like them. I said, well, that's good. I'm happy you like them. And I said, you've come here for cricket coaching, right? you don't want any fashion tips. He said, yeah, yeah. Can you stick with the cricket tips? And I said, yeah, okay.
Fantastic. Yeah, when people open up like that, you've obviously built like a high level of trust with them and making them feel so comfortable. So I think that's a massive credit to you, and it just shows what a responsibility being in these sort of roles is, right? Like we need to have these all round skills. You need to know far more than just the technical stuff. Got to know how to deal with people.
I think so. I think so. And yeah, it was funny. It was sort of a night of discussions. Another person I coach this morning, actually, a female cricketer who's an absolute gun. Um, Her performance has sort of been sliding a little bit over the last month, and I said, I kind of knew something was up. I said, what's going on? And she said, yeah, my motivation's just not there at the moment. Um, and I said, have you been training much? And she said, no, I've been struggling to get up for it. And she's like, I feel guilty. I said, you don't need to feel guilty. You're burnt out. You've got a huge work ethic. You've got an absolute love for cricket. You need it. You actually need a break. And I said, since you've opened up to me, I'm going to open up to you as well. I said, I had a really big summer, and right now I'm struggling a little bit coaching wise. I don't have my fizz like I normally do, and I love cricket. I love all you guys. I'm just mentally tired at the moment. And so that was a really cool conversation. I was really happy to get that off my chest as well, because I didn't plan on telling people I'm coaching that.
Yeah.
Um, so it was cool to have that discussion, and we sort of both said, yeah, it looks like we're both a bit burnt out. Like we both have very similar characteristics, but at the moment we're both not quite there with it. And I said the only answer to that is just stepping away for a little bit. You haven't lost your love for the game. You just had too much of it. So that was cool.
Yeah, that's so cool, and it's spot on, isn't it? Like I see it all the time when teams are struggling and they talk about the professionals, so they're on the different media sources talking about how we're going to respond. Oh, we're just going to get back to the training paddock and work harder. And it's like, well, what about if that's not the answer? Because what you've just described, then to me, that more often than not is it's burnout, like you just said. Young cricketer I'm working with at the moment, and a young golfer I'm working with at the moment, same thing. It's like, where are your breaks? And it's amazing, like the love, because you said that when it's clear they love the game. If they don't love the game, well, that's a different conversation. But if they clearly love the game and they're not enjoying it, then sometimes it's simple as that. Not a rest. Go back, recharge, do something that's not cricket for a little bit, and just chill out a bit. How much do you think that's are these kids self-driven? Do you think there's an element of the parents pushing it? Is it just the whole experience that they're having? Why do you think that's the problem? And this is a question from someone who's been prone to burnout themselves.
Yeah. She's like a really highly driven, and she's very, very focused on her cricket, and her work ethic's very high. And she's done it for, honestly, she's gone hard for 4 years straight. And given the climate in California in the US, or not in the US, but in California, you can actually play cricket 12 months of the year. So I was explaining to her, I said, in most countries, you play for 6 months and you rest for six, or you rest
Yeah,
for three and then you do three of preseason.
yeah,
And I said, genuinely, this is not normal just to keep on going and going and going and going.
mm.
And if you're burnt out, you got to stop. And she said, no, I'll just pull back a little bit. I said, I don't think that's going to work. I think it's going to be, can you just give me 1 or 2 months off? She's like, no, I'll just cut back to one training per week for a while. I said, I don't think that's going to work. So I'm probably going to follow up with this conversation with her and give her a few recommendations. She's worried that she's going to come back and not be able to hit the ball. I was like, you'll be fine. You've hit literally for 4 years straight.
Muscle memory will be fine.
Yeah.
So this is a good one for the listeners to learn off too. So Marty, how do you make sure you get that balance right? It doesn't mean that you still don't have those moments where you've got to put in the hard yards, because that's just a given in any line of work. But how do you make sure you are, well, you're clearly aware of it? How do you bring yourself back to balance so you can recharge and get that spark back?
Yeah, I think probably sometimes I'll add on too many things. So just pull away from a few extra commitments. And also, I think, like you say, is we're always chasing something. Um, and sometimes you're just chasing opportunities, chasing opportunities. Sometimes you don't need to do that. In fact,
Mm.
you step back and focus on your family, or um, I mean, I shouldn't say I'm going to go surfing because I've been going surfing every day, but surfing is a good spot for me. But
Yeah.
I haven't been missing that. So, yeah, I think it's just scaling back on some extra activities. My bread and butter is still going to be there, and that's very manageable. And then yeah, if it's continuing to bug, then you got to take a week off and get away from it, which is real hard for me. Like I'm a bit of a cricket tragic, so I'll go away and I'll still continue to engage even though I'm trying not to. So I went back to Missouri and I thought that would be a good recharge and stuff, and I thought it was, but I don't think it was a full recharge. I think I was still trying to do too many, not coaching, but cricket related things. Um, so I think a clear break is important, and just monitoring that and not chasing too much, not chasing for a few months, I think would be just fine. So yeah, that's what I would do, but definitely more mindful of it now because it's a slippery slope if you just keep chasing and chasing and chasing. I think there's
Mm.
got to be a recharge period there, and make sure family time's priority and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's counterintuitive, but when you take time away, you don't need to chase. The opportunities seem to come to you when you recharge. Like it's like you change your level of attraction. So yeah, I found that I try to make that regular break a big part of it, and it's amazing what unfolds when you make a commitment to a break. We were talking before about I think before we hit record about when you really need a rest, how often things will just cancel on you, and when you accept, you come to that point of acceptance. The thing I wanted to sort of point out is what you described there. Analogy I heard, which I really love, is like if you think about that concept of fire, like you burn out, and you said stepping back from a few things because you just can't tend to too many fires. Like otherwise, some burn out of control, some of them burn out altogether. Some of them aren't even your fires, so you've just got to come back to, okay, what's the most important fire, and ultimately it's our own health, and then beyond that, it's okay. Well, what are the one or two most important things, and just focus there. So I really love that answer, and it fits in well with that yeah, that fire analogy, which I really like. So, Marty, what's next on the calendar for you? What sort of big thing you got coming up? I know you're going to continue to work with the individuals, but have you got another team you're working with coming up, or another opportunity that's in the future?
It should be a bit more quiet over the winter. Like I said, I'm not don't want too many teams over the winter. It just takes me away from my family. We've got a youngster and stuff like that. So
Hmm.
a little bits and pieces, and probably going into the summertime. Hopefully, firm up something with Major League, which will be in June, July next year.
Yeah, awesome.
So that I'd really enjoyed, and would like to do that again. And um, I'll probably take some kids over to the UK, and then maybe if there's one or two more gigs, maybe I'll look at those. But yeah, not like I say, not going too far, because yeah, it really is. Uh, I do love the family time, and I've got a lot of coaching here locally as well. So it's just finding that balance, and it's tricky because
Hmm.
part of me wants to do all these coaching gigs and stuff like that, and sometimes I don't even know why. I just want to do them. But at the end of
You
the day,
love it,
that
right?
can put stress on the family and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
just trying to find that happy medium where it's the right amount, where I'm around the team and getting that buzz, but also getting plenty of family time and stuff like that, especially over the next few years while the youngsters are just a little guy.
Yeah, yeah. Balancing our different loves and passions, it's one of the challenges. So child and I don't know, potentially more kids, like if they grow up and they want to get themselves immersed in American sports, how are you going to reconcile that when you'd love them to be in cricket? I mean, more than likely they're going to follow you into cricket anyway, because that's just sensibly how it is. But man, have you got your head around American sports?
Yeah, well, I mean, the first things first he needs to get on the surfboard. I've already got his surfboard. I've got a surfboard ready there.
Ah,
So,
good.
um, yeah, he needs to surf first and foremost. But yeah, I think I would obviously be great if he plays cricket, but I would want him to get into American sport as well, since he's in America and he's
Yeah.
going to have a lot of American friends and stuff. So maybe not football. I don't know if I want him to go just throw his head around into people, but
Yeah.
ideally baseball or basketball. And yeah, so I don't know. It's a funny one. Everyone always jokes with me that he's going to be like into drama or music, because I'm full sports. So it'd probably be justice if he doesn't play sport, because that's all I'm focused on. I'll throw a ball at him and he'll go and get his truck. So I'm like, what's going on with that?
Well, I've got one of each. One that's fully into it, one that's like couldn't be anything further from it. So whatever, it'll be whatever it will be. Marty, thanks for coming back. We tried this once before and we just couldn't get the internet to work. This was a great chat. Really enjoyed it. Thank you for sharing some really cool lessons for people today. And yeah, appreciate it, mate.
Pleasure, mate. Thank you very much for having me on.
You're welcome. Today's key takeaways from a conversation with Marty. Leadership isn't just about tactics. It's about creating a culture where everyone feels they belong. Communication and clarity build trust faster than any strategy ever will. Setbacks are part of the journey, but resilience and perspective keep you moving forward. Mentors and coaches can fast track your growth if you're open to learning, and avoiding burnout starts with balance, boundaries, and knowing how to recharge yourself and your team. Whether you're a growth-driven athlete, a coach, or someone who just loves their sport, these lessons can shape your personal life game plan and help you lead with impact. Be sure to share this episode with someone who will benefit from hearing it, because great lessons are only powerful when they're passed on. You've taken the time to listen to this whole episode. Now it's time to take action. Commit to one thing you've learned today and make it happen. And to avoid any obstructions, join the Sport is Life movement by clicking on the link in the show notes.